All right, then I am going to call the meeting to order. Public Safety Building Committee, 6:30 p.m. on Monday, July 22nd. I do see Ms. Cook pulling in, and I didn't hear from Mr. Officer, so I assume he's coming at some point. First item of business is the approval meeting minutes from July 8th of 2019. Are there any comments or questions on the draft minutes presented by Mr. Lyons?
None, great as always.
All right, with that, I'll make a motion to approve them as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Goodney. Any further discussion? All in favor? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, I'm good. Are you abstaining, Mike?
Yep.
All right, Mike.
Well, I'm gonna, can I abstain?
You can if you want. I can.
That wasn't here, so.
All right. So I got 5, 0, 2. Barry and Warner are abstaining. Next item, Chairman's update. I have a bunch of items. I'm just going to fly through them. Interrupt me if you want me to stop, but they're all really quick hits. Update from Board of Selectmen briefing. So last Tuesday night, I went before the board to provide an update on the project. Hopefully it was the last update before we have a temporary certificate of occupancy. The only feedback from the board was just sending their compliments to this committee on the job done to date. Obviously, we got to open this building before we'll take any sort of credit, but the board did ask me to pass along their compliments. I am meeting with both chiefs, I believe, and Mr. Purple and Mrs. Hale next week at 2 weeks from now at some point to start thinking about how to any sort of special things that would be needed for the grand opening. So I would say any of you that have ideas, I'd ask that you float them to the two chiefs respectively, depending upon what department in terms of things that they can do to either promote the building beyond tours or special activities, especially those that serve in the police fire capacity. If you've seen anything done in the past, I think all suggestions are welcome at this point. Project timeline, I'm happy to report, and I'll turn over the Vertex and Context team at some point after the chairman's update that there's been no setbacks in terms of the August 13th date. What I did report out to the board last week is we were made aware that they forgot to order stainless steel countertops for certain areas of the building, mainly the police booking room and the fire kitchen area. CTA has fully acknowledged through their sub, I guess it would be, that there was nothing the town did to hold this up. They are putting in temporary countertops, which are functioning countertops. They're not what we're paying for, essentially, at the end of the day, to meet the August 13th deadline to get a temporary certificate of occupancy. So what we did as a formality is Mr. Purple worked with special counsel, given that town council was out of town. We submitted a letter today to CTA informing them that we have not received a request for them to certify that there is substantial completion on August 13th. So we've notified them that if they do not substantially complete the building by August 13th, that they're basically on notice now that they're going to be assess liquidated damages on a per day basis. So we basically have made the appropriate notification should they not hold up their end of the bargain, but our intention is that that building will have a temporary certificate of occupancy barring any unforeseen conditions on August 13th. There certainly will still be work to be done. I guess I'm just going to just prompt the two chiefs just to update the committee. We had a dialogue last week of assuming the 13th holds and you have temporary countertops, can you just articulate very broadly what your plans are for your departments in terms of moving and approximate dates, just so the committee has, and you obviously have every right to change it, but just your current thinking depending on the conditions of the building.
Why don't you go first?
I think I communicated, for us, it's when the dispatch goes live and 911 switches over, that's the day that we switch over, and then I'll arrange for our critical components to go over, such as evidence and anything left in the armory. That'll all go over. We'll start operating out of the building, and then the officers will slowly over the next few days move their workspace is over. But the day that that dispatch cuts over, that's when we're operating out of that building.
And for the fire department, based on that and knowing that the 13th is kind of in the middle of the week and pushing the weekend, we anticipate our move going to take about 3 days. So we're going to look at the 19th as the beginning move-in date, and then substantial movement and operating out of the station on the 20th, and then any remainder of move-in or anything that has to be relocated from this facility go there on the 21st. So we have 3 days planned, and we think that will work. It's in a week and not in a weekend where we're going to have some conflicts.
I will also mention too that the cell block has to be fully functioning before we move over as
And
well.
signed up by DPH.
Yes.
Any questions for the chiefs? Obviously, a lot can change, but I think it's helpful to kind of understand where your heads are, at least for now. All right, so monthly project-related updates. There's been a lot of, we'll call it loose pieces that we've been trying to keep together. Bill has done a phenomenal job on site trying to corral everyone, keep them honest, make sure we're prioritizing the right things. Just as an FYI, the golf course was closed for a portion of today. It's my understanding that this was the only day that this is happening, unless
One more.
One more day.
When they do the final pave at the whole site for public safety. Today was as a result of the milling work at Woodward School. Woodward's got a completely separate and distinct project going on. They're a couple of weeks behind, and today they had to mill the entire upper lot, which required the course to be closed because the CTA had said that the liability of trying to bring people through the site, given the open manholes, the curbing, and everything else, just wasn't going to happen. So it was the first day we've had to close it this season. I think we've tried to do everything we can to keep golf open, to keep them functional, and so they were very understanding of it, and they're already apprised that there's going to be one more day sometime in the next 2 weeks or so.
It was only close to 3:30-ish.
When the rain started, yes.
Yeah. Some people golf in the rain, right?
They did?
So I just wanted to make the committee aware of that in case they heard anything. In terms of the Woodward School, I think I've mentioned this before. I mentioned the Board of Selectmen. I just wanted to publicly commend Cell for Access Media. They're going to work with a group, including the school, probably involve both police and fire departments, just to show the new traffic patterns of where to go and not to go. So they're going to be doing some filming over the next couple of weeks as the signage appears down at the site, just so that there's ample communication, both video and written, out to the school community, because I think there will be a lot going on in that area when school opens up in a month or so. In terms of the budget, Ms. Cook and I met with Mr. Lemieux, Heidi, the town accountant, and Mark today, just as a sanity check to fully review the budgetary schedules that have been provided to us and gain comfort that what is being presented to us also ties into, I'll call it the debits and credits of the town's accounting system, because as great as John's schedules are, they are not the official books of the town. So we have a very good understanding where everything stands. We literally made sure we understood what could potentially hit certain line items, and everything we've been saying in terms of the budgetary savings still holds true. We're hoping for even a little upside, but I'm not going to promise that beyond what we've been saying to date. We've talked about kind of continuing that cadence and making sure that those schedules continue to maintain and be updated, and make sure that, especially once the departments move in and kind of the interest level, I'll say, wanes down, that there aren't kind of some loose pieces that we miss on the back end of this. So we've talked about where we can just make sure we tidy this up, and I think the important thing is that I don't think the Board of Selectmen, our term runs a whole nother year. Hopefully we finish up sooner, but I think this committee is going to stay in effect, and we'll still meet until kind of the final invoices are paid from the project, and make sure that the rigorous process that we have taken to date to make sure that expenses that are being incurred actually have the approval of the committee and anyone else that it needs approval of kind of stays in check, and we don't kind of lose that oversight as we near the end here. So, any questions on that? And then there's been substantial communication between police and fire departments, Bill and myself about the gym equipment. We did go out to bid, and they did follow a procurement process. The good news is they were able to secure lower prices than what was previously presented to us. So I think I previously reported that there were some donations received from the town's insurance company. They've now secured lower prices on certain items. Some of the items that were bid, unfortunately, were not the right same specs and wouldn't fit in the room. So just wanted to commend the police and fire representatives for how they've gone about handling the process and making sure and triple checking, because obviously Bill's got a lot going on and he's not a fitness equipment expert last time I checked, right? So I just wanted to thank everyone for kind of the collaboration. I think it goes to the teamwork on the entire project of just how everyone's approaching it, and I think we ended up at a better answer for the town in terms of financial, but also secured everything that the committee had voted to approve previously.
Did you guys include moving and installation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Delivery.
Delivery, everything is all included, so we got the POs out to the two different vendors today, and hopefully we'll hear tomorrow the delivery time frames. But they were both right around 2 to 4 weeks, so.
That's all I have for project-related updates. Before I turn it to Vertex in context, if there's any, I mean, I highlighted some of the items, but if there's anything you think the committee should be aware of, given that there isn't a formal report, because we're kind of in our interim monthly update, you know, this is your time to air any questions, comments, concerns, because next time we meet, we're going to be 1 week out.
Yeah, so just to, the one thing in terms of Chief Paulus and the dispatch moving, the vendors were reaching out last week because they have to do some coordinating on their end. So as of right now, based on discussions with Chief Paulus, that has been established right now that the move is currently scheduled for August 14th. So that is when Motorola E911, that's when they're ready to make the cut over. So there was talk about doing that to apply a little bit additional pressure to CTA to keep them in line. So that way they don't really have much of a choice. Unless something goes really, really wrong, I think we should be fine.
Can I just follow up with Bill, and how about on the cell block? Are we on schedule for the state to come in and inspect? Have we gotten a date from them yet?
I have not heard yet. I imagine that would be coming from Ellen and Jeff. But
He said he only needs 1 week notice, so I have been in contact with him.
Okay.
Yeah, he knows it's coming, and we'll give him the heads up as soon as we know that we have confidence CTA is going to be able to hit that date.
Okay.
Bill, do you have anything?
no, I mean, just a regular kind of update.
The only thing I wanted to share, a couple of things. We got the CTA most recent schedule today, just hours ago actually, and comparing it to their past real schedule, not the little interim we got last week, I think. A number of the tasks, I'd say maybe 30% of them have slipped. They're not jeopardizing the 13th, but I just want to make you aware that things that they thought that they would finish earlier are not able to finish. We've got about 3 weeks left, so hopefully it's all going to still come together. But you should be aware of that. And also you should be aware that there's a couple of tasks that are going to go beyond the 13th. It's not going to affect movement, but it should be something that, you know, the chief should be aware of, the lady should be aware of, you should be aware of. Some tasks, including commissioning, and I would call it the shakedown cruise of the HVAC system, will be ongoing. So rooms will be hot, rooms will be cold. Air's not gonna, it's not gonna work perfectly on day one. And this sort of goes into my last comment. We punched out the majority of the second floor, was it last week?
Last
Tuesday? Wednesday. And I told the group that was there on last Tuesday, if we had been doing this on any other project where the end date wasn't so critical, we would not have punched out. They were not ready for punch out, but because the schedule is of the importance that it is here, we chose to do it. There's a long list, and Bill has it, of all of the sort of exclusions and exceptions to that punch list of things that we have to go back and check that either weren't complete or weren't yet completely installed, or there were still pieces missing, or hadn't even started yet, and certain rooms are actually excluded from that list. So you should be aware of that. It's all planned, it's part of the schedule. We will get to the first floor, and that'll all happen before the 13th. But that's part of the process as to how we get to the 13th. But I do think that there will be things when the departments move in. We've had this conversation already, but when they move in, they'll see some things maybe that, you know, they need to get fixed, weren't completely done right, maybe didn't hit the punch list. CTA also knows this. Those first few weeks are gonna be a little bit of a, you know, a process of chasing things down. So I know we'll get, you know, assuming we'll get the schedule to work correctly these next 2 weeks, we'll get in there on the 13th. These guys can move in. We'll operate from there. It just may not be, as Jason said earlier, 100% fully operational. So any questions based on that?
Whenever anyone tells me I should be aware of something, my brain snaps and asks why I should be aware. You mentioned that they've indicated a number of tasks have slipped.
Yep.
And you want us to be aware of that.
Yep.
But that the 13th date has not slipped.
Correct.
Why are you asking me to be aware that the individual tasks?
Well, I'm hopeful that in 2 weeks I'm not coming to tell you that some things have jeopardized that date of the 13th. But
Right.
as we know, this is the sort of MO we've seen from this contractor that, you know, tomorrow we're going to talk about, they sent the schedule today, so
Yeah.
tomorrow in the meeting we'll talk about why those dates slipped and how can they have confidence that they're still going to hit the 13th. I just know we're not going to meet again for 2 weeks, so if something happens the next 2 weeks, which Jason will obviously make everybody aware of, where something affects that date. The first time I had any evidence that something else may be coming is today. And it hasn't yet hit the schedule in a way that's affecting the 13th, because some of these things don't affect critical path.
Okay.
But if, like, the countertops was a new one we heard about between the last schedule and now.
We spent a lot of time on that one too.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if something else pops its head up in the next week, and CTA has to figure out how do they make it so you guys can still move in on the 13th. What do they have to do to get there, and, you know, whether it's a temporary thing or not, how do they make that work? But to date, we haven't heard of anything that's jeopardizing that date. But, you know, the amount of cushion we had before is less.
Right.
That's basically what
And
it's
the
been.
tasks that slip, are they individual
Yeah,
type?
there's probably, I don't know, 60 or so tasks that they have to do,
That have
work
slipped?
tasks that have to do before they hit the 13th, the date of the 13th, and some of them, let's just say 15 or so of them, they plan to start maybe a week earlier. They either haven't started or they're scheduled to start, but they're scheduled to finish before the 13th
Okay.
still. So just because it's scheduled doesn't mean it's gonna happen. I'm hopeful it's gonna happen. Some things on the landscaping, curbing started a little late, but it's still gonna finish before the 13th. So again, just making everybody aware of it, but it doesn't seem to be a problem right now, but hopefully it won't be a problem the next 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Did their email outline the slip, or did you find it by actually
Found
looking at the
it by
detail?
comparing the two schedules.
So they didn't really call it out.
They didn't have an accompanying letter with this schedule, they just posted it.
So I guess that is not in the spirit of the agreement that we asked when we agreed to the extension. So one, I'll just note it for the record, that's 2 weeks in a row that the town's officials have been left off unless, did you get that? Okay, so both Mark and the chair did not get the email, we're getting it. And second, they're supposed to outline where things have slipped.
Yep.
And I assume the chiefs were not copied on that email either?
Yeah, I could check, but more than likely it's just us
Isn't
and
it-
Vertex.
it's not- All right, so that better be loud and clear at tomorrow's meeting.
Yeah.
Bill, you got that
Yep.
too? I don't know which one of you is gonna disseminate the message, but
Yeah,
I mean
we'll-
that,
we'll-
and it's Friday, it's not Monday. There was no holiday this week unless I missed it. Right?
That's true.
Okay. I mean, we're crunch time here, right? So
Yeah,
John's right with his line of questioning.
Yeah, the plan is, because we just got it literally late this afternoon, the plan is gonna be to bring it up in the meeting tomorrow and have a big discussion about all those points you raised.
They are aware we're approving change orders and stuff tonight. maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other elevator inspection? Do a date?
No date yet,
They called?
not that I'm aware of.
Why?
They still have to finish the fire alarm.
So I assume that's gonna be a point of
Yes.
attention tomorrow.
Mhm.
Okay.
So have they solved the problem with the elevator as far as being able to use it without it being inspected to get the furniture up?
We are, WB, all their furniture came on Friday. They basically gave us 2 dates that they could come do it, and one of them was well after August 13th. So we had to jump on the earlier date. They delivered everything last Friday. We scheduled an elevator operator for Wednesday, so they can get all of the furniture up and installed starting on Wednesday. So
I think she's like worried about the cost you quoted last time. Came in a lot less.
$4,000 for the operator?
Yes, it's significantly less. So they gave us an unofficial quote of what they had the last time they had an operator, which is $133 an hour. So, and they usually they charge you an 8-hour minimum. So it's assumed for the day. Try to get another vendor on board to piggyback with that, but they're just unavailable. So it'll just be for WD's use. But it's scheduled to go off on Wednesday. So.
This is something we can throw back at CPA, right, for them to pay.
Yeah.
I believe so. I mean, there's, if it's not done.
That's an internal discussion for them
Yeah.
to work out, for sure.
Okay. Any other questions on project status? All right, so we're gonna move on to change orders. So the format's a little different, just to make sure everyone's on the same page of how we're gonna do this tonight. So I'm gonna go off of the main sheet in the packet. They did submit supporting details for items we haven't talked about in the past. And then once we get through what they're proposing we approve tonight, then we'll go through kind of what's out there, which thankfully is not a lot. Just so we kind of have a precursor. I thank the group for honoring the request from last time of trying to clean house here on some of these items, and I think it bodes well to kind of help understand where we're at financially. So I'm going to skip PCO 17 because that is a golf-related item. PCO 71R2 is electrical revision, second floor. Planning to skip that one because we've already approved it in a prior meeting as part of the CCD. PCO 100, first floor electrical revisions. I'm going to skip that one because we previously approved and discussed it. I'm going to stop at PCO 113, stair 2 replacement window. This has already been issued as a CCD. Do you remember there was authorization to myself and Mr. Purple to try to work through a solution to deal with the building inspector's concern, coupled with the fire department because it related to the sprinkler, of how the stair 2 window worked. Ended up getting a resolution, just put in a fire rated window. The cost you see there is for the materials to do it. That window will not be in when on August 13th, but has it been ordered yet? No. But it's been authorized to be in order through the CCD, correct?
Weeks ago.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the submittal.
So that covers the requirement that it's in by the time of the public opening, but there is a temporary solution that they have in place to allow the building to open and for it to be safe to inhabit. But it accomplishes the goal of what Chief Paulus was looking to accomplish in that area of the building from the get-go. Are there any questions on that one? All right. PCO 123, door 101 hardware revisions. I think we need a little background on this one because I don't think we've talked about this one before.
I don't think we specifically talked about it. This is to swap the push bar, which is just a mechanical release for the exterior door to the vestibule, the main door of the building, for an electronically controlled push bar. It also has a power transfer so that we get power to it. Basically what we're doing is allowing that door to be remotely controlled from dispatch to be able to be locked. Previous to this, it was latch only, so the public could come in and out that door, but the secure door was on the inside door of the vestibule. We still have that secure door on the inside. The outside will also be secure, and this will function like a man trap. So if the department wanted to, they could trap somebody in there, both for their protection if somebody was pursuing them, or for protection of the people in the building if that person was in danger or something like that. So it gives them flexibility.
So you'll lure them between the two doors, then you close the one behind them? Is that?
Well, I'm not so sure luring is the, they would obviously be volunteering themselves to come in the building, but you could, after talking to them, consider them potentially a threat to themselves or other people and keep them from leaving the building to allow proper personnel to respond. It's not unusual in the police stations to do it occasionally, so this would allow that to happen. So this hardware is essentially being swapped out to make that fixed. Now, we had a bunch of discussion about whether or not it'd be appropriate to do this on a time and materials basis, issue a CCD and not do it on time and materials. There's cost, labor costs for them to install the hardware. There's labor costs with the electrician, and there's a labor cost to patch the wall when they're doing the wire. All of those labor costs, potentially, depending on how easy and quick it is, I got to imagine we'd be able to beat the numbers on this ECO, would result in savings. However, as Vertex has brought up, it does require them to monitor this, and they're stretched, so they have to bring an additional personnel on site to monitor it, which I think they're doing for some other things. But so the question, I think, is if we go that route, is the savings that we likely achieve in the CCD, the time and materials work, potentially offset by the additional cost of the supervision of that work. And that's sort of more for you to decide at this point. But right now, as Jason had asked, we've included this in the change order in its full value so that you can determine what you'd like to do.
How many doors is that?
Just one door. One door.
One door.
It's about $4,000 for the push bar itself. There's about $800 or so for the power transfer, and then the rest of it is labor cost.
So think about half is
Half
is essentially what we
Little bit
can
of
save
markup.
on. Obviously, it's going to cost. We can do some labor.
Yeah. It's not going to be nothing to install it. I'm sure it's going to be a couple of hours, but is it going to be 8 hours?
And is this premium time or regular time that's currently
So,
quoted?
I know what it says. It says premium. CTA indicated it was not actually using premium rates, but I think either way, we need clarification on the PCO before we officially accept it, that if we were to put it in this change order, it does not include premium time, because we do not need to pay somebody overtime to install it. CTA's already acknowledged it can be done on straight time. So they have told us this number is straight time, not premium time, even though the language on their cover sheet says premium.
And I guess to Vertex, you have concerns about being able to actually monitor the work if we approve it as a CCD.
With this one in particular, just because of all the ongoing coordination with all the town vendors, I know we have brought Marty in previously. I thought it was more beneficial at those particular junctures for those particular things to have both of us there. This one, it's just, I'm just not sure of the cost savings. Once you include, basically paying for 2 of us there for.
But are you going to have 2 of you there anyways for some other reason in the coming weeks, given what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, the next time, right now, in my conversations with Kevin, would be to have Marty come back out when they do the first 4 punch list. But he's going to be with them for the first 4 punch lists. So.
Just about 2 weeks away.
So.
We can get him, Marty's available because the job he's on ran into an environmental subsurface situation that's kind of put the brakes on the job for a little bit. So he's available.
It's definitely available, there's no question about that.
Okay. And then Chief, was this like I don't want to call it an afterthought, but is this something like you saw at another building, or is this something you thought was always in the building and came to discover it wasn't?
That was my impression.
I concur.
So it just
Should have been in there.
Okay.
It is something we had discussed, just never got in the document.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have any strong views on CCD versus just approving this when we make the motion? Next one is PCO 133, fire alarm revisions. We've talked about this in the past. These were to bring the building code compliant. Work is done, which is great. Have you been out for inspections yet, Chief?
No, I'm going to speak with the building commissioner tomorrow, see if we can get through there at some point. I did meet with the electrician last week just to confirm some items, but I think it needs just a good walkthrough.
Okay. Any questions on that one? PCO 138, overhead door buttons. PCO 140, bollard credit. PCO 141, wiring harness. PCO 142, kitchen gas loop piping. Any questions? Are there any holds that anyone wants to separate? Alright, then I'm going to move that we accept PCO 71 R2 through PCO 142 as presented in change order number 14 as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Goodney. Any further discussion? Alright, all those in favor? Any opposed? So that carries unanimously. Next up, we are going, I guess, before we go to the invoices, Ellen also included a list of 3 that are still kind of out there for discussion based on how, with CTA, and then a listing of the items that are essentially in dispute at this point, but we're not taking any further action on until the end of the project.
Right.
I guess general question I had was, there was a few notes in here about the time and material slips exceeding the cost the committee approved on a CCD basis. How do we figure that out after the fact, and like what, I don't know if this is a vertex or context question, how are you going about resolving that?
It's going to take some more discussion with CTA, I think. I don't think I'm ready to kind of give you an accurate picture of how we're going to actually resolve it. CTA is pretty dead in on the fact that they feel that the work costs what it costs, and with some mitigating factors which we don't necessarily agree with. And we had a little bit of a discussion about it already, but I think additional discussion is necessary to resolve it. We point blank told them we didn't feel like we could represent to the committee that they should pay extra costs after they already agreed to not to exceed, and it was CTA that didn't come back to anyone and tell them we're about to exceed, we're going to need additional authorization. So without that notification, we don't feel like the owner should end up having to pay for the extra cost. On the other hand, there was actual work, time spent. So we got to do a little bit more work on that.
Vertex, you concur with that?
Yes.
Okay. I guess, why don't we see how it goes in the next 2 weeks, but we should at least.
The plan is to
bring-
try to resolve it in the next week,
Okay.
so that we can, I mean, our plan is to get all 3 of these resolved by today. We didn't do it, but try to get them as wrapped up as close as possible. And then I will say that we almost got 137 included, but that may end up going into a CCD if we get it, just because we need it installed, and we may not ultimately agree on how much it should cost.
Okay.
So Mark and Jason, you may see that come up this week.
Okay. Any questions? All right. We're going to go into invoices. So there's 2 separate letters, so I'm going to deal with them separately. So the first one is just a context invoice that John sent us a separate letter on as compared to the other basket.
It was just, there's no reason, it was just hidden in my inbox. And I had already sent you the other one, so it was either revise the first letter or send a new one, so I opted to send a new one.
So I will move that we accept that as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Goodney. Any further discussion? All in favor? All right, so that carries unanimously. I am not planning to vote on the next one, given I abstained from the votes on some of the procurement on some of these invoices. So I'm going to turn the next letter over to Mr. Goodney.
Okay, the next one is various invoices for some of the contractors we have. Do you want me to go down each one of them, you think? Or just do it as a lump?
can I just give you a quick heads up on the
Yep.
WB Mason?
Yep.
If all of you take a look in your package, what we included for backup for WB Mason were the 2 invoices listed, but also the third page they included was a statement. The statement indicated that there had been prior invoices of 6 figures, about $100,000 for furniture. We never saw that invoice. I wanted to include that just so that you understood where we are. So the 2 invoices that are there, you know, the 10 and the 27, we have those invoices, we're good with those. But if you go out to the fire station right now, there's a lot more furniture than those 2 invoices, so it is there. We just need to get the invoice from them. We don't have it. And I think if you look at the address that's been sent here, they should be sending the addresses, excuse me, they should be sending the invoices to Town Hall. So I'm just gonna follow up with them and we'll have it for the next meeting.
Okay, why don't I just quickly go down the list, if anybody has any questions, you can just speak up. We have one for WB Mason, $10,047 for furniture. Another one for WB Mason, $27,117.61 for furniture. One for Motorola, $53,300 for radios. Another one for Motorola, $138,250 for radios. Signet, $42,500 for security. Hodge, $466.78 for combination locks. Harvey, $180 for shredding. Another one from Harvey, $260 for shredding. E.J. Prescott, $1,914.40 for a water line project. Code Red Consultants, $1,750 for a FA peer review. And UTS, $1,585 for construction testing. I'd like to make a motion that we approve $279,370.79 for those following that I just spoke of, those outstanding invoices.
Second.
All those in favor? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4, and 1 abstention.
Okay, thank you. Next item is meeting schedule. So we are scheduled to meet 2 weeks from tonight. Hopefully the last time we visit here.
If I may, we're hoping to have this room as a staging area in the next couple weeks. As you see, we've been starting to move some things in here, but we held off this week knowing we had a couple meetings. Is there a possibility to have the meeting in another location?
We can check the senior center. We can't go to the town hall because planning board has public hearings. Unless you want to volunteer your apparatus pay.
My training room is still available, across the street.
Thanks for the offer, chief. That's your apparatus pay.
We can do the apparatus pay if
I'll try to find another spot, but if that, I
you
think
need
that
this
would
location, I'm just hoping.
qualify for handicap accessibility and everything else we need for a public meeting. It should hopefully be a very quick one unless Jeff turns the tide on these items that he raised. But I will look for another location. Unfortunately, I think unless you can give us a temporary certificate of occupancy for 32 Porterville Road, that would also work. But I'll assume it's here, just downstairs, unless you hear from me otherwise, and we'll try to figure something out.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment? Mr. Litt?
I just have one observation. I noticed in both financial updates that you've been giving, you haven't mentioned the holdback for the potential exhaust system upgrade thing that's been hanging over us.
I
Seems like that's a contingency, a large item that's a contingency.
Well, first of all, I don't think it's a holdback at this point because I think what the chief has articulated is that his department's going to move in and assess it. I think this committee is going to continue to meet up until next April, and I think the updates that I've given have been what I would term conservative to allow for unknowns that may present themselves, whether they be exhaust system. I think Mr. Lemieux used someone forgot to order trash cans for the facility. So I think we've tried to be conservative and use the word approximate to accommodate items as large as that, but items also as small as trash cans, so I
I'm
still
not worried
stand.
about the trash cans, it's just that this was one where you had said, you know, it's a decision that's maybe 6 months out.
Right, so we've factored in like contingency, that's why we say approximately 3 million. Our number's coming up north of 3 million right now in terms of
Fair
savings.
enough.
Is there anything else the committee wants to discuss tonight? Make the motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Okay.
Second by Mr. Goodney, any further discussion? All in favor? All right, we adjourn, thank you.